Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to Champions Week, episode 2. And yesterday we had the 21-22 FPL champion on. So now we're going from champ to chump. I don't know. We can debate that out. But no, in all seriousness, let me introduce you to the Planet FPL Correspondent Mini League winner for 21-22 and finished inside the top 2.5K, Andy Martin.
Cheers, Jamesy. Afternoon, whatever we are. I'm just too hot at the moment. But yeah, thanks for that intro, mate.
You're very welcome, mate. Me and Andy should point out at this point we are both sweating quite badly, which is probably more obvious on the visual than it is on the audio. But we do our best to keep this sensible. Talking of which, Andy, got a couple of things obviously to start with. Johnny Pringle said, "Thanks for Calvin Phillips, and it's only on loan." As
More
in
than
the mini
welcome.
league, not Calvin Phillips.
Yeah, I mean, look after him. Calvin Phillips is a big miss, and like Rafinha, I hope they both do. I hope they both smash it. I think they deserve to go to big clubs. So fair enough. And Man City and Barcelona, it's not a big deal. Those two clubs, is it particularly?
Save it. We'll talk about Leeds on Correspondent Week with you next week. And also, a lot of people have asked me to ask you why you're still on Twitter.
That is a sore subject, and for my mental health, I need to stay on Twitter. Is the main thing? But I was the one that brought it up, and I kept retweeting it, saying, "Look, English club's going to win Champions League, or it's going to be Bayern Munich." I couldn't see anyone else, and the fact that Real Madrid got through those English clubs like they did, I still beggars belief.
So yeah, to just to fill in those who don't follow Andy on Twitter, Andy repeated several times that he would leave Twitter if one of the English teams or Bayern Munich didn't win the Champions League. But Andy, you're still with us, and actually, I feel like it's a good place to start. Actually, in all seriousness, Twitter. How are you dealing with Twitter as a growing account? I mean, it's fair to say you put yourself out there with some bold predictions and statements sometimes, and some of the press you'll get back will be quite negative. A lot's very positive as well, in fairness. But from an FPL perspective, how do you deal with that when in your mind you're perhaps indecisive about a decision?
I think having a lot of followers can be quite tiring because of notifications and people chatting to you all the time, and people want to get your opinion as well as respond to them. So you're bombarded the whole time. And in a way, because you're bombarded the whole time, you need to step away and have your own thoughts. I find that it's a good thing. Like, yeah, I'll intake all these thoughts from different people, different accounts, and then I'll respond in spaces and questions and stuff. But ultimately, I can put the phone down and walk away and then have my own thoughts. So for myself, I think it's important. Yeah, I know I'm a big account with loads of notifications, but also mentally, you can't just take it all the time, every minute of every day. You have to just put the phone down and have your own thoughts. And that's where I am at the end of the week before deadline, where I've inhaled all this stuff on Twitter, bombardments of everything, podcasts, and I'm engaged in FPL the whole week. And I didn't ask for these followers, but they seem to come.
Like, see you dress up in your robe and eat porridge and stuff like that.
Eat porridge and yeah, exactly. Have a bit of fun with it, and people enjoy that, I think. But mentally, for myself, it always has been as you can put the phone down. You don't have to look at the phone constantly, and I know my own thought process and things, and that's where I need to keep going with that and not be influenced too much by stuff on Twitter.
Are you decisive, would you say, as an FPL manager?
Yeah, very decisive and perhaps stubborn.
Yeah, we'll come back onto stubborn maybe because I potentially have the same problem as yourself. But yeah, I find for myself that helps. I'm quite decisive in terms of I'll say it on the pod every Monday, like, you can treat me whatever you like, but I'm only going to make my own decision. Is that where you're at? Because essentially we have very similar Twitter follower numbers. You're far more interactive than me in terms of the banter and the general conversation and stuff. So I think it's easier for me to push it to the side than perhaps it is for yourself. That's why I wanted to ask.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I really enjoy interacting, and I really enjoy being on Twitter and chatting. I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. So I treat a lot of people on there as friends I can chat to and have banter with, and I don't ever allow it to go deep. Like, if someone's giving me stick and I get abuse on Twitter, it's kind of water for ducks back. I've had the negative experience, and people give you shit because the amount of followers you have, and you slip up on a tweet and people go diving head first into you, and that's it can hurt for a bit, but I know that the kind of person I am, I've got good friends in real life as well as online. It says more about that person than myself, really. So yeah.
I want to talk about your FPL history a bit. First year started 14, 15. Then the following 4 years, you're all between 1 million and 1.6 million. So
yeah.
I'm take it. I don't want. Fuck it. Casual is where you're at this stage. Were you even on Twitter? Did you have access to the community or anything?
Only been on Twitter for 4.5 years.
Okay.
So complete casual. It's a completely different life from like 5 years ago. So I was working in sales. I would set up a team, but I was not interested in FPL at all. And actually, I was more interested in gambling. That was like my outlet when I wasn't working. 5 years ago, I took it upon myself to stop gambling. And I needed still something in my life where it was something that can be addictive and a challenge, because I've always liked games and stuff like that. So a hard game is FPL, and just fully engage in that to stop myself from gambling. And that's where I set up the Twitter account and spent my time doing that. So from 2017-18 to my first proper season, really, I'd say.
So, I mean, there's a game essentially, and I hear this story a lot, as it essentially replaced the other vice, if you will.
Yeah, and I would say gambling is the hardest game, but FPL is the second hardest game to win. And that's what drew me into gambling, is that the game is really, really tough. But in a way, I find that like, I've got to beat that. But FPL is similar, but without the stress of losing money. So
exactly that. Yeah. I mean, listen, we know people obviously will enter cash mini leagues and stuff. Do you still or not?
I don't do cash mini leagues either.
No, good. So you're having the same gamble and the same kind of addiction. We can say that. I think it's okay, but without risking your financial future, etc., etc. Right? No, it's interesting. So 18, 19, 70,000, 19, 20, 30,000. There are obviously two very good finishes. Then you probably become a bit more known in the community. 2021, 730,000.
Yeah.
Whammed.
Back to stubbornness. I felt I was really, really unlucky, but I think the main thing was I wasn't getting behind the bandwagons. I felt in that season, bandwagons like Calvert-Lewin, Bamford, Gundogan, Lingard, they were all something I didn't believe in properly. And I stuck to, I remember sticking to Timo Werner for like 15 game weeks. I had Che Adams up top and I wasn't prepared to move. Yeah, because I'm looking at Timo Werner thinking, he's getting his chances. He's going to turn it around. It's Timo Werner. And it's just stubbornness to accept that you're wrong, change it up. And I think like Christmas time, I was 2.5 million and I could never claw it back. I mean, also having Leeds in the Prem for the first time, I think that influenced it quite a lot. Like, I didn't want to have Salah game week 1 against Leeds that season at all, because I wanted to cheer on Leeds the first game back. So I felt there was a little adjustment there where I was suddenly having Leeds biases. And even like Bamford, I didn't really believe in Bamford due to stuff they did in the Championship, but he smashed it. And I was like, oh, Bamford's still not going to continue this. He can't do it. And I think that affected me as well. So I think it was only the first half of the season. The second half of the season, I actually brought it back to 730k. I kept going and plugged away. And
yeah, didn't you say to me you were outside the top million to about game week 35 or something?
Yeah. So I kept plugging away. And as I said, it was 2.5 million at Christmas, which is just insane. You don't know how you get that low. And I was trying really hard. It was just nothing was going off. And I think it's because people like Calvert-Lewin, Bamford, Gundogan just smashed it over. I was stubborn in my ways, I think.
The thing is with stubbornness, though, you can go so far where you almost, I take the example of Lingard. I think it's quite a good example. People remember the spell obviously he had at West Ham, where it's all prior knowledge of Jesse Lingard is this won't last. Made his debut, scored twice, then he scored in the next game. Then there was another attacking return. Then there was another attacking return. Hang on, there's 4 games, but I know historically Jesse Lingard can't keep it up. So you can go, right, well, I've been stubborn so far. It's been 4 or 5 weeks. at which point do you just join in? Like, is it at 10 weeks you go, oh shit, I've got to go with, because eventually I think you just think, I've made my
Yeah,
bed here. What's the point? I mean, when you're
yeah.
at that sort of rank as well, what's the point of just going in with everyone else and doing the same thing?
And I think my mindset is just trying to find different alternatives that can do as well, and you just get lost in it, thinking you're better than everyone else and going against the crowd, and that's kind of, I guess, in my nature. And just going back to Lingard, I just brought back a memory in my mind where my dad, who was having a good FPL season that year, he's a West Ham fan, he was sending me Jesse Lingard pictures of like the celebration and stuff like this, and it was like proper. And then, yeah, I mean that experience, and then the whole of Twitter as well. So yeah.
So how did you deal with that? Because it's at the same time, you must have had, you're saying like you're obviously quite strong-willed in terms of your opinion and stuff, which is great. But then when you're sitting at that rank and you're watching everyone else going, Andy, get Lingard in or whatever, and you're still being stubborn about it, how are you dealing with that? Because that's got to be persuasive in the sense I'm burning here, it's killing me.
Yeah, I think I was just embracing it, embracing the pain of it, which I think people liked. They could see like I decided to post misery pictures and things like that. So I think dealing with it that way, even though I was hurting deep down, if I was tweeting, I was like overly brought down by it, kind of thing. That helped just to see, look, it is a game. At the end of the day, we should be having fun. If I can laugh at myself in a bad season, it's not the end of the world. I'll
Yeah.
still enjoy. I'll still enjoy the week of listening to podcasts, researching. I wasn't someone that's going to go away from it because I just enjoy the game too much.
I reckon you got all them followers because you had a shit FPL season,
Oh,
personally, mate.
completely. Oh, completely. Yeah.
So you're saying stubbornness and perhaps players who were going on hauls and runs are what affected you really bad. You kept missing them. Was that the biggest learning then going into last season? And therefore, what did you change?
Something I changed early on was so I didn't start with Antonio or Ben Rama, and obviously they started smashing from game week 1, and I went to both of them really quickly on the basis from last season. Like, okay, everyone's getting in for a reason. The fixtures are there. Antonio and Ben Rama smashed it game week 1. Just do it. Just get on board early, and if it goes off, if it doesn't do well, then that's fair enough. But at least you're with the pack still. So I guess I learned from that, and the fact that sometimes you just got to go with the bandwagon. If you don't believe it, it's fine.
Just go with it.
Just go with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I had that with I felt like Gundogan 2 years ago I was a little bit late. And because of Gundogan really influenced me last year to go, nah, sod it. Bernardo Silva's potential on a little run here. Let's go with it. He ended up sitting in my team doing sod all for sort of 8-9 weeks or so, just because I had other more pressing matters, and he's a City attacking player anytime, right? But in hindsight, I look at that and go, Bernardo was a massive influence on Gundogan the season before. So it doesn't always work, right? But would your philosophy be therefore going into a general new FPL season? Okay, I've not gone with this player. He's doing bits. Don't think twice about it. Even if you don't rate him, just get him in.
Yeah, I think that for certain seasons. I think for this season it's different, where there's got unlimited transfers after game week 16. I think I still want to be a little bit punty early on. So, I mean, we're going to mention about no Salah, obviously. That's the big thing that I'm tweeting about every hour, it seems, and people are tagging me in tweets about no Salah. But with this season, I think it's different that, okay, if I've got it wrong after 3 weeks, you can wildcard.
Yeah.
And it's not the biggest issue. If I don't go Salah and it works out, then I'm going to get off to a huge start because he's going to be so well owned and captain.
Do you feel calm about decision making going into this season, primarily because of that? Because that's how I feel.
Yeah, I because of my good rank last year, I'm also wondering, is my headspace at, okay, look at me now. Now I'm good at FPL. I can do what I want. So perhaps I need to take myself away from that headspace of like, you've had one good season. Don't think you're the dog's bollocks yet. Perhaps you need to take a step back and look at what everyone else is doing, because going too maverick can be damaging as well. Don't think you know it all yet.
What's the target for this season then for you?
It'd be top 10k to come off the season just gone. To finish anywhere in the top 10k again would be so amazing.
Listen,
And it just established myself as like, yeah, I can do it.
Top 10k is incredible. Now it's getting harder and harder. It'll be harder again next season. Be harder the year after. So it's incredible. You did, as said, finish what 2,204 overall last season. The couple of bits I wanted to pick out from your season, Andy. Game week 8, you wildcarded.
Yeah,
219k, and very quickly you were into 50k, 15k, then into 6k, to the point that by game week 18, you're 371st in the world. What are you thinking at this point? Because that period, game week 18, was the mad kind of postponement period and stuff, wasn't it?
It was. So that was coming up to Christmas time. I just came off the back of captain Cancelo, which was huge at Newcastle. Yeah, which was one where, again, it was a week where people went captain Salah, and it was a week where he blanked. So it's a huge jump for me. At that stage, I'm thinking it's still a long way to go, and there's still loads of chips. I felt if I could just keep around in the top 10k up to like game week 30, I'd have a chance. That was the way. Even from like game week 18, I was thinking, right,
a chance of what first?
Yeah, honestly thought that. I thought if I can be game week 30, top 10k still with the chips left, that's a good chance. So I just wanted to consolidate in that period where it was chaos and all the chips and all the double and blanks and stuff. If I was thinking consolidate and then come strong at the end is going to be good enough. I wasn't trying to get higher than 371. I was like, right, this is a great rank, hold it for a bit and then come strong at the end.
So did you decide at that point you needed to be very template in your selections?
Not template. I just looking for players that could cover me for like 10 weeks and not do too many transfers, and looking at the double game weeks and blanks and thinking which players can just stay there and sit there and be okay. And then by like 26, my main plan was to get a team for 30, and 31 and 32 is where I was thinking before I use my next free hit and wildcard again. So I fell a lot during that period, but I knew that I was building for 30. And the main part of that was Son and Kane, trying to do my transfers in order so I can have Son, Kane as like a double up, which others weren't doing at that time. Presumably
that wouldn't have been the thinking around about game week 18 though, because Kane was doing absolutely nothing in the first half of the season.
Yeah, I saw a lot of improvement. I mean, I held Son, I think from game week 18 right through to the end of the season.
Wish I had as well, mate.
Even through his injury, I think like 21, 22 ran at that time. He got an injury. I even benched him just because I believed that Spurs are looking good, and I wanted to keep him in my team.
So that period from game week 18, following 12 weeks, you had one green arrow. Which, when you're at that kind of high ceiling rank, and I've never been in a position to know what it's like, you are going to hit some reds. There's no doubt about it. You have a game week rank of 1 million at your 371st in the world, you can expect a red arrow and stuff, whereas that would normally be a green if you're around about kind of template rank and stuff. So how are you dealing with that? Because you're saying you wanted to make sure kind of minimum you stayed in the top 10k. You get the game week 29, and after that you're back down to 28k. Yeah.
The fall was a lot greater than I expected. I thought I had a team in that period where I can consolidate, and it was game week 28 was the one that, and actually probably the one I've been most annoyed about in my FPL time, where people are playing chips and stuff. I remember I was sat in Saturday afternoon, it was like 4:00, second half, I was watching BT Sports score, and the Chelsea players like James, I think it was Havertz, Aston Villa players like Coutinho and Cash, who I didn't have, absolutely tore it up for about 15 minutes. And I was like, wow, this has absolutely crucified me. And I just didn't expect to drop that much. I didn't think from 371st, I could drop to 28k in 10 weeks. Like, I just didn't think it was possible to be.
What are you thinking at that stage? Obviously, you got the advantage of the chips left, much like what Jamie and I discussed yesterday. He was in a similar position. But are you thinking at that stage, geez, 28k? Do you almost go into, because it's dropped that much, do you almost go into retreat mode and think, fuck, I've got to still finish top 50k here? Or are you thinking push back to top 10k? Because presumably at that point, you're not thinking you're going to finish where you did end up finishing.
I thought and I said this, I thought I'd still finish inside the top 10k when I was at 28k. I thought if I'd get to game week 30, I was in the top 10k, I'd have a chance of really finishing really high. But the fact it dropped all the way down to 28k, yeah, my estimations of where I finished did slip, and I thought, okay, I've slipped this far, but I know my game week 30 team's going to be good. I've got the players that I want for that, and the few weeks after before a wild card, I'm pretty confident I'll finish in the top 10k, and I think that was still my goal, even though it changed from 18 to 28, where I thought I could finish top 1k. After that, I thought, okay, I can get to top 10k again though. I'm pretty sure of that. I thought that would be my lowest point of the season, and it was, luckily. Just because I had the plan in place, which I thought wildcard 34 was the best, and I really think wildcard 34 and wildcard 8 were the best 2 weeks to play it over the course of the season.
I want to say Jamie did almost exactly the same, actually. I think I went 35. My first one was around about 14 or 15, I think. But game week 8 was kind of around that Chelsea stuff.
When Reece James, I mean, like Jamie as well, I mean, we had Reece James game week 8, and then he probably smashed it up before a lot of people brought him in. And then he suddenly fell off a cliff. So yeah, that was a big advantage then.
Yeah, who knows if we're going to get 1 point Reece James or 21 point Reece James in game week 1? We don't really know at this stage. Talk to me about this wild card then in game week 34. Because a couple of obvious absentees here, notably no Mo Salah. What was the thinking at that point? Because obviously that's off the back of his monster haul, wasn't as big as his first one, but another great haul against Manchester United. What's the thinking at that stage?
I just didn't think he'd look as sharp as he did early in the season. That was the main thinking, and I thought for myself the value that he was, I could go a little bit lower and use the money around my team. And I didn't see myself captaining Mo Salah in the last few weeks.
But you did go with Raheem Sterling.
I did.
Was that the original game week 36 triple captaincy plan?
No, my triple captain was actually, I was between Cancelo, KDB, and actually Richarlison 37. That was where I was going to. Honestly, those are the 3 options I was considering. With Raheem Sterling, I think, did they have a decent fixture, like 35? I can't remember too much. But
they had a game where they left KDB out, didn't they? Which kind of, as Jamie mentioned, kind of made it obvious that he was probably going to play the double in 36. I'm trying to remember what week they had when they had Watford at home when Jesus got the 4 goals. I can't remember, to be honest. But yeah, most of the City's fixtures at that stage were pretty straightforward. I mean, they had Leeds at one point, Andy, as you know.
Yeah.
So it's only my team and Crystal Palace that can do anything against them, and Southampton, Saints fans. So you went Sterling, but obviously by the time you got the game at 36, KDB's in there. Something's changed in your mind where originally you picked Sterling and changed to go to KDB, because Sterling's gone then by 36. So I'm presuming it was probably that break. Was that a little bit like what we've happened to Jamie, inspired you to go down that route with the triple captaincy on him?
It was definitely. Like the fact KDB got 0 minutes in 35, it's like, wow, okay, I'm going for the title. 2 very good fixtures. He just had his rest. I think it's a full-on onslaught now for the title, and it's, you hear about like big game Kev, and that's what made me
all the time.
That's what made me do it. This is 2 prime fixtures gunning for the title. KDB's going to step up and going to take it by the scruff of the neck and just go for it. And I fully believe it. And that's what made me do it in the end. Yeah.
How many points did he get you? Because I know
He got 90, and it was unlucky because he got booked twice, and he could have had more against Newcastle.
he could have
So
got more against
unfortunately,
Wolves as well, mate. Bloody hell.
hit the post, and Foden hit the post on the pass. Yeah, I've watched it a few times, but yeah, just 90 points. So that was a bit lucky.
It's dream stuff, isn't it? Particularly as well when you're thinking back to, obviously, Salah was at 84, I think, 26. A lot of people had Jared Bowen, 21. There were so many good triple captaincy returns. Irony of irony, except for those who really kind of went with Salah in
Yeah.
36. I've heard of a few going Bruno Fernandes, but I think some would have been spiking drinks, to be honest. So to get 90, to actually then look on it on reflection, go, actually, this was the ideal triple captaincy. In fairness, it was ideal bench boost for a lot of people as well. 171 points then, and you jump right back up to near where you want to be. You were in the top 1,000 after that, I think, weren't you?
I was 900 and something, yeah, after game week 36.
So you went from 300 odds game week 18, dropped all the way to game week 28, game week 29, and after KDB's triple captaincy, you were back up to 901. But it's not just on that week. You had already recovered. You were up to inside top 6,000 after game week 35. What are you thinking after KDB's triple captaincy? Is it now, please hang on to top 1K, or?
Yeah, again, I'm thinking I'm up against these free hit guys in 37. I played my free hits in 21 and 33, and I'm expecting red arrows. I think I've nailed the triple captaincy, and again, it's clinging on the last 2 game weeks because of chips still in play for people around me. The free hit 37 looked a great week to play it. I got the captaincy right again with Richarlison, which was fine. I managed to cling on a bit, but I wasn't expecting to climb any higher, particularly not without a free hit in 37.
Now, listen, 2,204 is an amazing finish, mate. Well done. You should be pretty proud of that. What's your thinking now? Because Andy Martin, the Twitter account, FPL tactician, he's got this reputation for wanting to be a rebel. It's not true, though, is it?
Absolute rebel, absolute maverick.
It's not true, is it? You are going to start with Mo Salah really in game week 1, aren't you, mate?
I think I might have to tweet out soon and go lock it in. I'm not going to start with him.
You're acting like you're. I mean, at the moment, Mo Salah's not in my draft. I would say he's probably 35-40% not gonna be in for me. But not because I don't think Mo Salah's the best player in the Premier League or likely to be the highest scoring player. It's thinking that I can compete against it, and there are 3 other Liverpool players I'd really like as well, which you have to factor in to the decision making. But you seem 100% sure.
I would say I'm 95% sure. And the main reason, like you say, the City Spurs captaincy rotation, I think, is great for 5 or 6 weeks. I think that the Spurs fixtures in 1, 3, and 4 are better than Liverpool's fixtures. So I don't want to go with Salah and Haaland, which I think Haaland is absolute beast, and I think more essential than what Salah is personally because of his ownership and what he can do.
You're not allowed to say that word on this podcast, mate.
Apologies, yeah, I brought it up. And I just think the Liverpool got great fixtures. You know, they're a good attacking team. I'm going to have 3 Liverpool anyway. If I went with Salah, it would then restrict me to not have one of the Spurs premiums, and that would just frighten me more than not having Salah. So not having Son or Kane in my team for those beautiful fixtures worries me more than not having Salah because I've already got 3 Liverpool sat there already. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, look, the 5 million drop, no one thinks Diaz is going to outscore Salah, for example, but the 5 million drop, and you still get Trent and Robertson as part of it, and you're saving $1 million on premium asset as well. Yeah. It goes a long way. One of the things I do keep hearing is the team you can have with no Salah. And it is strange, actually, how much better overall teams can look by just saving that 1 million and going Son instead of Salah, for example. And I think it's that all-round nature where you go with 3 other Liverpool players anyway. Most people will certainly have at least 2, I should imagine, if not 3.
And just to go back as well, I mean, that was my thinking in game week 34 wildcard last season, where the I think it's 1.6 million saving you get on Salah to Sterling at the time can do so much to other areas of your team as a whole balance of the team. And I think it's similar again in game week 1.
Who do you think's best captaincy game week 1?
Son, okay. At home to Saints.
I mean, I still think it's Salah. That's probably where you're at 95%, and I'm probably at near a sort of 60, 65%.
Yeah.
I
And
still
I'm
think
not,
he's the best shout in game week 1.
yeah, and I'm not going to sit here and say Salah's a terrible captain choice. What are you doing? I still think he'll probably be the top scorer in the opening 5 or 6 weeks. It's just Diaz, Robertson, and Trent for their value, I think, can get closer. Then when you factor in Son and Haaland captaincy, then I think you get more than what they would do with Salah.
Yeah, I'm not going to repeat the City Tottenham captaincy for sort of the first 6 weeks. We went through it yesterday with Jamie and stuff. But I think it's a case of, yeah, exactly what Andy said. My thoughts at the moment, if you said to me, Salah, and I'm just going to use the same examples I used yesterday, Son and Haaland, but it could be Kane, De Bruyne, whatever your preference is. If you ask me first 6 weeks, who's the top scorer out of them, I was going to say it's probably Salah. But if I combine the best of Son and the best of Haaland, we can possibly beat it. I think that's where it's at, isn't it?
Yeah, it is where it's at, and I'm happy to take it on, knowing that 4 or 5 weeks I've got a wild card to change it if necessary.
Well, that's the other thing I wanted to mention was Salah's probably got the best first 2. Tottenham go to Chelsea in game week 2, City go to West Ham in game week 1. There's a growing movement towards even looking at the idea of just having a team for 2 game weeks, and that would make me want to just put Mo in. I think, and go, yep, I'll just captain him. Fulham away probably comes with Haaland, and probably captain Haaland rather than him in game week 2, and then you're limiting the damage, and you're off to a good start. I think. Yeah. The one thing that puts me off with Son and Kane is if the blank against Southampton game week 1, and then you're looking Chelsea away game week 2, it doesn't look great. The urge to move. If Salah's gone off at Fulham, you've gone without. Say you've gone with Son, blank Southampton, then you're looking at Chelsea away. I think you're thinking, shit, how am I finding this million?
Mm-hmm.
There is obviously a strategy which we use a lot in Sky, is like try and start with the highest price player in each position, so that you can always come down rather than have the struggle to go up. So you've already mentioned as well the idea of wild carding early. Is that something that you think could influence your thought process at the start? Because I'm very much looking at ideas of a team for 2 game weeks as well.
Yeah, I mean, if it is 2 game weeks and that's a fair enough strategy, then probably, like you say, Salah is the best. I want to go a bit later, maybe like 5 or 6, I think. And that's where the Spurs premium asset, I think, comes to better than what Salah does. Because is it Wolves in 3 and in 4 it's Forest away, is it?
For Spurs, yeah.
For Spurs. And that kind of tempts you more. As the first 2, I think it is Salah, but then if you look at its first 4 or 5, the Spurs premium comes back into it more, I think.
So how are you finding on the Bird app, people are responding to the no Salah drafts?
It's all good fun, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, it is. It is really. I know that I take a lot of stick, and it's all good natured, really. You can tell people that do get abusive with it, and people at accounts you don't know. I don't block or mute anyone.
I do now. I just get rid, mate. I ain't got the time for it.
Yeah, I just ignore it.
Andy's a nicer bloke than me, bottom line, basically.
I enjoy the debate and trying to back my case and reasoning for it, and I think that's part of the fun as well for FPL. Is you spend the week up to the deadline discussing and having arguments. Even I think, as long as it's not too badly natured, I think it's fine to do. Deadline comes, you can't really change anything after that. It's all about the football and enjoy the football of the weekend.
Yeah, no, I would say that. I'm a big advocate of that. Once you made a decision, that's it. Get on with it. Enjoy the football and stop worrying about what's to come next. Already think about, rather than thinking about, game week 2 deadline, rather than worrying about game week 2, start thinking about game week 3 and what you're going to do next. You can't influence the points that are about to come through from that. I always think that's a really good way to try and look at it. What do you think about Sterling's move to Chelsea?
Interesting, isn't it?
Make him a lively option again, because the fixtures are good. One's really interesting with them, we'll talk about it more with Gary Mantle next week, is technically up to the World Cup, their easiest game on paper is Wolves at home. and it's not a week where you'd consider it as kind of best for captaincy. All their best fixtures are away from home. In fact, I don't agree with it, but FPL's FDR has every Chelsea away game before the World Cup as a 2.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And I think having him as the main man now, I think for Chelsea, with the good minutes, I think he becomes a definitely viable option at that price. Definitely. I want to wait and see a couple of weeks, but I'm happy to move to him if I see that he's getting the 90 minutes, which I expect him to do, and be a main man for Chelsea. They haven't just got him in to be another squad player. This is the main guy. Yeah,
I'm sure, like with James and Chilwell, he's not going to start 38 games, but yes, he's coming in to be first choice in some capacity. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see as well, like the front three. I think Sterling, Mount, and Havertz, if they go as a front three,
it's great.
Yeah, that for me, if they stick with that and build a chemistry between the three, I think it works really, really well.
I think Sterling would definitely be the top scorer out of that. I wouldn't have a doubt. Whether he played left or right or through the middle, I wouldn't have a doubt about it, actually. It's a difficult one, not knowing that there's not that many great options where I'd want to stick the armband on him at 10. Not that you need to at that price, but it's a sizable chunk. Then you start comparing it, don't you? 2 million down to Diaz or even to Mount or Kulusevski, whatever. You start looking at other options. What's your take on the premium defenders, Andy? Has it got to have them? Is it the pricing so cheap that you're looking at going 4.5s and stuff?
I think it's really great value for the premium defenders. But the thing is, I think as well, you've got to look at the 4.5 million defender options. I think there's great value there as well. So I'm torn between whether I go 3 or 4 premium defenders at the moment. I think I will have a 4.0 on the bench, whether that be Nico Williams or Patterson, something like that. But my decision is, do I go 4 big premiums defenders, start with a 4 at the back, or do I just go 3 and perhaps do a 5 in midfield?
Is there any from them you're definitely taking Trent with you, for example? Or
yeah, Trent and Cancelo. It's pretty much nailed on. I can't see me going away from that. I think the other one's up for grabs. Perhaps I could go Robertson more than likely, but Chilwell, James at 6 really appeals as well. So,
have you got a preference between them two, Chilwell and James?
Not particularly. I think no, not really. James perhaps, in terms of crossing ability, I think he's so dangerous at that.
I take it Perisic not in at the moment then?
Not at the moment.
No, it's like
based on the other fullbacks that Spurs have,
it's become quite, and I'll cover it quick because we're not doing anything Tottenham specific this week. It's come quite murky with the Tottenham wing backs because the two that I think will be first choice we haven't seen play for Tottenham yet. So Perisic has obviously kind of come back with this injury. Jed Spence, by the time this podcast has been recorded, I presume is going to, or goes out, I presume is going to be official. It certainly will be anyway. I imagine he's going to come in as first choice as well. But I don't know. Sessegnon looks really fit in pre-season and stuff.
Bulked up, isn't he?
It looks like Doherty and Emerson are both going to stay as it stands. So there's competition in those areas. I do think Perisic and Spence would be first choice, but Perisic isn't going to have had the pre-season that everyone else has had. And it might be we don't see him properly till near the end of the month, possibly. It's an incredible price, 5.5, if he plays every week at left wing back. I mean, we've got what, eight goals for Inter Milan last year.
Yeah, it's mad. I mean, he's more of a forward left.
Well, the thing is as well, if Tottenham do keep all like the likes of Emerson, Doherty and stuff, I think there are times where you will see him playing a front three, possibly even as well. Even might be he's more defensively minded, put him there instead of Son last 15 minutes or something like that. I think could happen in certain games, but it's looking risky now unless something really changes in these. He's basically said against Rangers on Saturday he's hoping to play 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
So then you're looking at maybe 45 to 60 against Roma and then the season starts. So he's coming out for me, I think.
I'm with you. And I did have him early on when the game launched. I was thinking Perisic 5.5. How can you ignore that? And now, like, as we sit here now, I'm thinking, like you, do I trust the minutes early on for him to get up to speed? And
he's one where you'll need to think ahead, because if it looks like he's not going to start the season, obviously the ownership he's got now he won't have. But then at that price, people are going to fly onto him.
Yeah.
once it looks like he's going to play regularly. Tottenham do have a good run of fixtures at the start as well. So it might even be that's one where that finds you your money. So if you look at it like that and go, right, where am I going to find that money to get to Salah, for example? It could be that it's Van Dijk down to Perisic, for example, if that's the way you want to go, or
Yeah.
similar.
I've also got it in my mind as well. After Man U have played Liverpool in 3, I think the Manchester United assets will emerge, at least one or two of them. And that's when you can go to like a Rashford or Sancho and downgrade one of the 8 million midfielders.
Yeah. I mean, they're great prices now. If you'd have sold someone this time last year, those are the prices the United played, you'd have had them all in.
Yeah.
But it looks difficult to start with them. It's not a brilliant start. Brighton, Liverpool, first 2 home games don't
Yeah, no, it
fill
doesn't
me
appeal
with
to
joy
me.
that they're going to go off big to start with. And in fact, the first 3 home games are Brighton, Liverpool, and Arsenal. Might look again, Andy. I just let them see how they got game week 8. Oh yeah, Leeds. Yeah, I might have a look then.
Yeah, I might have to captain him against Leeds because it's often 5 or 6 goals for them, luckily.
It is the 1 week, actually, game week 8, where you could make a strong case for United as captaincy, because Liverpool go to Chelsea, City go to Wolves, Tottenham got Leicester at home. You could make a real case for United as and when it comes around. So yeah, there'll be some interest, but I think for me, not at the start. Before I let you go, Andy, 8 million mids, we've got some great choices there this year. I guess from what you're saying, if you're no Salah, Diaz is in, is he?
Yeah, DS is going to be in.
I know you've looked at the idea of going with 2, haven't you?
Yeah, I really want to try and go with 2 because I think there's so many players at that price, and just if I'm going to move to the Manchester United asset or even look at maybe going up to Bowen, I think I want to start with two in there. I think it's a better balance for the team.
Is that something you're comfortable with, starting with 2 players at the same price?
Yeah, that's fine with me because there's so many of them, and whether that be Mount, Saka, DS is pretty much in. So the other one is up for grabs. I've got Son, so it probably won't be Kulu. Yeah, Mount Saka, I'd say, is the 2 I'm looking at. Depends again if I go with Jesus, with Haaland.
I think with Kulusevski, obviously Richarlison's suspended game week 1. So you would think that he'd certainly start at the moment, and it's his shirt to lose. And the way he finished the season for us, he won't lose that shirt. It'll just be down to a case of rotation and stuff. To flip that, though, in terms of 8 million mids, I take it you'd treat that very differently for the idea of Haaland and Kane together, bearing in mind there aren't other options at that price.
Yeah,
it feels like a lot it's going to be, and a lot of people will go with neither. We know that, but for a lot of people, it's going to be one or the other. Certainly to start with.
Yeah, I think structure-wise, I think it's good to have a premium forward and a premium midfielder. If you start with both, and your most expensive midfielder is 8 million, there's nowhere to go upwards. So
you listened to the podcast with Jamie yesterday, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
He's thinking of going Haaland, Kane, and Vardy.
I didn't get to that bit. Is that right at the end?
Yeah. He's considering it. Yeah, Haaland, Kane, and Vardy just to go against it. He's not saying he's going to do it, but he did tweet out a few days ago as well, speculating on the idea of going with those 3 forwards at the start. Listen, you can always quickly take a -4, can't you? 1 down to the 4.5 and
True.
shove up. I think we can get a bit blinded to it, but yeah, I can't see me starting with Haaland and Kane, for example. And I think setup wise for me, where I want the money at the back, I can only see me going with one of the midfielders at 8. And I feel like if I don't go with Salah, I've already talked myself into Diaz. That's how it feels a bit.
I think that's the way to go. But likewise, I think those on Salah would probably go Kulusevski just to have a Spurs coverage in there.
I think most will avoid it because of the Richarlison aspect. And I think Tottenham are still looking to add another attacking player, certainly before the transfer window shuts as well. I mean, one name we haven't mentioned, he's absolutely nailed at the value. It's Saka, isn't it? And you could make a case they're the best for the first 8 if you're looking a bit longer ahead.
Yeah, I really like Saka, and I still see, despite Jesus, I still see Saka as a talisman for that team. I really do, and I would trust him.
You think you'd outscore Jesus?
Yes.
I think Jesus for me, it feels like at the moment it's just if I want to, if I know I'm going to wildcard early, I might go without, because I think there's a few like Watkins, Wilson might be quite interesting for 2 weeks or so. Yeah. If I decide I don't want to lock myself into that, I think I'd probably just start with him, mate.
I just think he's going to take a while to get up to speed and perhaps play 65, 70. And you've got Nketiah and Martinelli.
I know you tweeted yourself the other day saying about, obviously, if you were going to go without Salah, is going without Jesus one too many as well. So
True.
you've obviously got some doubt about it in your mind. The price is so good, isn't it? It's ridiculous, really.
They're all good. They're all good.
Well, yeah. I mean, everyone knows my opinion. Everybody would be about a million more, and Trent would be about 3 million more, personally. But yeah, no, fascinating interview, Andy. Really, really enjoyed that, mate. Where can everyone follow you on the Bird app?
Yeah, it's FPL_tactician.
Give him a follow if you want to see a man with a beard eat porridge and crying on a Sunday morning after his Saturday FPL's gone wrong and stuff. He loves it, really, does our Andy. Do you want to plug? What's that?
I was just going to say, I could be Sunday morning after the Salah hat trick against Fulham. It's going to be.
You will also, by the way, see it the other way if Salah blanks, which will be the laughing. Everyone knows the laughing face that Andy tweets out. It'll be that one instead. Andy, plug Correspondent Week.
Correspondent Week is the week you cannot miss. You get an in-depth analysis of every single team in the Premier League, and it's essential listening or viewing, because you'll get people in the know about their club who know better than anyone else.
Andy's giving a message to all his Leeds comrades there. Andy, who's the one Leeds player you're most looking forward to talking about next week? Don't say anything more about it.
Brendan Harrison.
I knew you were going to say that. Fantastic. Andy will be part of next week's Correspondent Week, 20 pods in 7 days. I think Andy will be on, I want to say, next Tuesday, I think. Same time next week, possibly even. Tomorrow on Champions Week, slightly different change of tact. Andy's good friend and former leader of the Champman FPL group, Dave Perrins, Simple Goal, will be joining me for a mixture of Sky Fantasy / FPL chat. We're going to lean a little bit more into Sky Fantasy tomorrow. Dave finished second overall in Sky Fantasy last year. Did have a fantastic FPL season as well, finishing top 20k. Really looking forward to that with Dave, as I'm looking forward to having Andy back as part of Correspondent Week next week. Thank you again, my friend. Cue music,
James.
please, man child. Oh, and remember, everyone, play it your way, please.